Hi, class. Welcome to chapter 7. Let's start chapter 7 very soon. Um, I think you already got your marks, some of them. I'd like you to think about it. This is not a permanent mark. It change as you get to improve with other marks. I can go back always and change these marks and could get it better. So these marks is indicating the level you are right now. So you need to, if you think you feel like you can do better, you just put more effort in the work participation and assignments, common assignment, and you will be fine. So don't worry about it. This is only the first mark, and it can be adjusted. So let's start with the chapter. Before we start with the chapter, um, I will try to post the first group assignment. Please stay in contact with your group and look forward for it. Basically, it would be uh, as a group assignment doing this work. So let's finish this presentation first before we start doing. So far, so good for the Padlet. I see some activities in also Flipgrid. Wonderful. So keep the good work. Okay. So today we'll start with the chapter 7. In the chapter 7, we'll talk about the foreigner direct investment, which is FDIs, and what stands for, and most likely what our assignment will be in this field, probably the group assignment. Now, the FDI or foreigner direct investment is the acquisition or a construction of a physical capital by a firm from one source country to another country. So, if a company located, for example, in USA and try to establish in Canada, and they build their plant there, so that would be an FDI. Like Ford, we have all the General Motors, Ford. Cars are they have their manufacturing here, so it's a kind of it is an FDI from USA. Now there is a MEN or multinational enterprises, which is usually is a firm that owns a business operation in more than one country, and once again is like Ford, who owns an operations in Canada. They have an operation in Mexico, or Toyota, which is have an operation in Canada and in Japan and other Asian countries. Now, on the other hand, beside the MEN or multinational enterprise, there is something called greenfield investment, which is establishing a new operation in a foreigner country, which has never been done before. So this is the first time they go there and build their operations there. Now, there is a what do you call a foreign direct investment in the world economy, which is it indicates there is a flow of DIs and there is a stock of FDI. And the flow of FDIs is the amount of FDI undertaken over a given time period. Usually is a 1 year. It could be, 6 months, it could be 2 years, but usually normally is 1 year. The stock is a collection of these FDIs. So the stock of FDI refers to the total accumulated value of foreigner-owned assets at a given time. Now, foreigner direct investment in the world economy, it's like we have an outflow and we have an inflow. And the outflow is referred the investment when they go out of the country and they invest somewhere else. Inflow when somebody like China comes in and invests here. Outflow when Canada goes and invest in China. UNCTAD UNCTAD is World United Nations Conference on a Trade and Development. This is a body usually does the research, education about FDIs. So it's a United Nation entity is the most authoritative and reliable source of information about the global FDIs by a country and by activities and statistics and diagram. You can go and visit them and see online what do they have. They will show you, how things is, FDI is from one country to another country or vice versa, or about, amount or statistical diagrams of it. Now, there is a trend of FDI in FDI. It has been increasing year by year for the last 35 years. It's increasing so much. The average outflow of FDI increased from 243 billion to 1.5 trillion dollars. So there is a huge trade, which is because of the global village idea and because of the internet. Everybody is connected to each other. Now, during the past few decades, the United States has been the favorite target because of DI inflow, and because they have around 200 million people with the high per capita GDP per capita, and also they have a very competitive economy and transparent economy. So that's helping lots of people from different world. They invest in USA. This is a sample of a trend in FDIs, and if you notice, the number of increase huge, by 2015 comparing to 2009. The TDI of FDI, the direction of FDI, even though developed nations still account for, most advanced countries account for most of the FDI inflow, but we see there is a trend of people, investing in developing countries and developing nations has been increased so much. And usually FDI increased by almost 150%. Most recent inflows in developing nation have been targeted at the emergency of South Asian countries, especially like Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia. There's lots of investment is happening there, flow from a developing country to they invest there. Now, since the World War II, the United States has been the largest source of FDI, foreign direct investment, because, after the World War II, Europe totally was distracted and they had to support Europe by money and investment and all this, manpower. And position is retained during the late 1990s and throughout to 2000. Meaning, American companies are going to other countries and buying up the other companies and resources. So they have the second most important source of FDIs, developed countries like United Kingdom, France, and Japan. They're going to the other countries and invest there. Now, this is how it looks like. This so far the source of FDI. If you notice, China has become very high because of recent development. Recent, they trying to connect all these Silk Roads and create this trade. So they are investing hugely in different countries, and every country according to their political requirement, they will do their investment. So take a look at this and see how things is happening, whether it is developed economies or developing economy or transaction is a colors is defined there. Now, forms of DIs, there is an acquisition, which is a foreigner company comes and take over some kind of operation in different countries, and there is the mergers. which is, two companies become one. And you have the greenfield investment, which is a new facility built there in the new destination. So if a company in USA like 3M comes in and establish a new facilities in, let's say, China or in India, that's called a greenfield investment. The greenfield investment, this is a slang expression which originally referred to the fact that many of these type of investment involve into the buying of real estate and building something. It came from there. It's like people, comes from outside. They buy land and they start buildings, as you're going to see in Toronto, like this, and they start. This is why they call it a green investment or greenfield investment. In the Canada case, in Canada has FDI, much recent history, the FDI inflows has been far less than outflows. And, you know, inflow is more important than outflow because this is kind of part of your GDP, country's GDP. In the global context, FDI inflows and outflows remain promising for Canada well into future. For most of part, Canadian gains in FDI outflow are due to the rise of Canadian affiliates and subsidies in the United States. This is a one way of looking at it, but recently, and this is would be part of your assignment, there is a new voice came in regard of NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, and this is why um, Donald Trump and his Republican is trying to stop it. They tried to stop it, is because they're saying that the whole NAFTA, the beginning of the NAFTA are helping, but the whole NAFTA is together is hurting. So in your assignment, I need you to look at this part of it and see why the, the NAFTA might be as a block, the whole block, hurting the whole block, but benefiting each country in certain field. But in general, has was not very positive experience for especially USA uh, because of the opening their borders and everything. So what I want you to do as a group, you you first of all you look at the NAFTA, what's NAFTA stand for, and what's the agreement, and what's the benefit side of it. But most important, I need you as a group find out what's the point of view of why NAFTA can be really not as good as looks. If you can find this answer, that would be wonderful, because I gave you already hint about it, so you need to dig deeper why the whole block of NAFTA, and this is only a point of view, the whole block of NAFTA together is hurting the total NAFTA, but they might be within NAFTA countries. There's some few benefits here and there. So this is your assignment, and I will write it for you. Now, why foreign investment, direct investment? If why you go and build there if you can export and licensing? First of all, not everybody will be accepting exporting, and exporting might be some issues with the trade, with the fees, all these issues. And licensing, you don't have very much control over it. So you have a tendency to go and do a foreign or direct investment sometimes. Now, why foreign direct investment? Because FDI is expensive, uh, and a firm must bear the cost of establishing production facility in a foreigner countries or of the acquiring foreign enterprise. Is this always true, or sometimes no, it's not true? Let's assume you're opening, you have you're trying to have a manufacturer for sewing clothes, and where it will be cheaper, having it in Canada or have an operation, direct investment in Vietnam, for example. So that's not always true, but FDI, foreign direct, is a risky of the problem associated with the business in a different culture. So you're gonna have there is rules, games, there's things that we talked about it. You need to accommodate with it. Here is why foreign direct investment, because of limitation of export and licensing, are means for capitalizing on foreign direct investment. And here you can go and read it, limitation of export and limitation of licensing, why the and why you go with the FDI because of these reasons. Now, as we said, the limitation of licensing, there is, give you just only three reasons, is licensing may result in a firm giving away the valuable technology because you're building there. So it might be somebody taking over your technology and utilize it. In licensing, you don't, it does not give you a very strong insight over, manufacturing, marketing and strategy. You might have some rules, but it cannot be 100% everything implemented. And thirdly, the problem with licensing arises when the firm's competitive advantage is in the management, in the marketing and manufacturing, and not the product itself. So licensing might also would be not a good idea. Now, the pattern of foreigner direct investment, it is a strategic behavior is always why you go for it. It's mostly because of you have intention of doing some oligopolies or monopolies, and the other thing is because of multi-point competition there where you can find all the competition on suppliers. If you notice, the Silicon Valley have the similar thing, and also for the product life cycle, and we spoke about it. Once sometimes the product is becomes an obsolete, you cannot use it in this country, but legally you can use it in other country, or that country under developing now, you can always go and produce theirs. And there is a location specific advantage. So every top IT company wants to open, in Silicon Valley, an office there. Now, here, what are you going to see? You're going to see the benefit of FDI to the nation states. Sometimes, what's the host country for the host country, and what's the home country? Home country, let's assume Canadian businessman goes and open an operation in Vietnam. So the home country is Canada, and the host country is Vietnam. So you need to take a look at this, try to understand, and then if you have any question, let me know. Now, it's the same thing. When you have a host country, home country, if you have an outflow, is money you're losing, and also the employee number of the employees losing. And the host country, there is money coming in, more employee getting hired there, so it's good for them. But and this is where a hint for you to write your assignment about NAFTA. So if you notice, um, it's not a competitive to move my very competitive to move my operation from Canada to USA now, because they are similar. They're more, or USA to Canada, because the expense is the same thing. So what's happening is for the whole block something that's shifting outside, and this is the hint that I'm gonna give you is this is why current Donald Trump and his team is against the idea of NAFTA. So here you see, like, for example, there is a textiles who shifted to Mexico from Canada to Mexico, but even because of Mexico is part of NAFTA, and they're becoming a little bit, more developed. more income, even leaving Mexico and going to developing nations. And international trade theory and FDI, government policy instrument and FDIs, how they play. Sometimes the home country encouraging the outward FDIs, and sometimes they restricting FDIs. It depends on the policy, and it's the same thing happening for the host countries, encouraging inward FDIs and restriction. It depends on the government policies, and that's what's helping. Now, there is a site which is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, is usually its primary purpose is to gather information about the activities of various countries and regions so that some senior management and government can make a decision. So you can take a look at this link. I'm putting it there for you. Just look at it and see. These are information that if senior manager wants or a government wants to do inward FDI or outward FDI. So this is end of this chapter 7. It's a short one. I didn't want to go with the details on it because I know you guys are going to work on the assignment as a group. So I wish you good luck. Once again, um, don't worry about the marks. Your activities is very important. And these are the marks that I posted now is just if you can do better, you can get better marks. Some of you guys had a low mark because they submitted late. Some of you did not submit it, very, very late until I told them. These must have some negative effect on them. But the most things that I was looking for, also your ideas, your thoughts in the questions. And hopefully you do better on the next assignment and exam. I'm sure you will. It's just you know this is a startup, as I said. It's not a stable marks. I can always can go back and fix and improve them. So good luck with your assignment, and I'll see you next class.